So hopefully this is going to be a bit of a show and tell kind of talk about some resources I've created at the Open University, and I'll do a bit more showing and telling if I can restrain myself. So let's see. I've got a couple of videos I'd like to play you. And just to kind of get my, to big up these resources at the very beginning, these are some reviews for these resources that have come in online, which is really encouraging. So I think at least for some people, they're having some effect. So what's this all about? So OpenLearn is a free educational platform provided by the Open University. It's completely accessible to the public. There's no paywall or anything. Anyone can use these resources at any time. And absolutely, I encourage you to use any of this stuff I'm talking about. If you're educators, activists, or in your personal lives, please use this material if you think it'll be useful. So the interactive is set up with this quote on the slide. Explore the rise of veganism. You'll learn about how veganism relates to speciesism, the historical background to the vegan movement, and more. And this is kind of the first visual image that people see when they log on. They see this kind of suicide food image of a smiling pig in a livestock transporter. So the idea there is just to kind of intrigue people, think, you know, what's this about? This looks a bit weird. And of course it is weird, as we all know, deeply weird. And then if they open the interactive, they start off with this typical kind of friend or food question, which we just heard about. We all know that this is a really effective tactic in campaigning, activism, education. It works because it makes no sense, this distinction into different categories of other animals. So these are the answers that have come in so far, which might suggest that quite a few vegans have been taking this course. But still, the difference is evident. More people are saying pigs are a food source than horses. So, you know, that's the effect we kind of want in a way, just to get people to see, okay, why is there this disjuncture here? And hopefully the rest of the interactive explains why. So learners are then led to this video through the interactive. So we're starting off with speciesism rather than veganism, because the basic idea is that we're setting up speciesism as the social problem to which veganism responds as a social solution. So the emphasis there is on removing this from a sense of individual blame, guilt tripping, trying to avoid the defensiveness that people often respond with when they encounter veganism or vegans, often due to the negative stereotypes around veganism that we know about. So that's why we've taken this approach. So now I'll try and shut up for a minute and let you listen to this video, which is voiced by Benjamin Zephaniah, greatly missed, of course, which he recorded for us a couple of years ago.
Speciesism may be a strange sounding term. So, what does it mean? Speciesism is a prejudice against members of other species. It is shaped and reinforced by institutions, patterns of social behaviour, and cultural beliefs. Speciesist ideas, such as the belief that other animals don't feel pain or don't have complex emotions, are often used to justify or excuse harming other animals. Speciesist ideas are also behind the belief that humans are exceptional and that human interests are the only interests that really matter. So how have we learned to accept speciesism? This happens in two ways. Firstly, by categorizing animals according to how we use them. These categories differ in terms of the extent to which we treat other animals as objects or things, versus treating them as subjects or people. That is, creatures with thoughts, feelings, who have preferences, such as wanting to avoid being harmed. A neat way to think about this is to consider whether another animal is thought of as someone or something. Secondly, it works by making animals more or less visible to us. In a nutshell, the animals humans treat relatively well and the objects we make from animals are more visible in society, but the living animals humans harm are less visible. It's not only that we don't see their harmful experiences, but also that we don't hear them or become aware of their experiences in any other way. Putting together the two concepts we've just looked at, we can map out the results. This helps us to visualize how animals that humans most usually harm are treated the most like objects, and the ones we also pay the least attention to. Speciesism takes attention away from animals who are the most exploited, for example, animals confined on factory farms, and directs attention towards those who are least exploited, and in some cases, completely fictional animals, such as cartoon animal characters. We can simplify this map to make it easier to see how speciesism boils down to categorizing other animals in 4 ways. 1. Those who are cared for and loved as friends. 2. Those who are treated as part of nature, who may be admired from afar, but who may also be ignored and made to seem beyond our responsibility, even though human activities can harm them. 3. Those who are treated as things, which includes any animals consumed as food or products, but also the real or fictional animals who are made into objects of entertainment. 4. And finally, those who humans confine and kill, often to produce things. Make no mistake that some animals are put into more than one category, depending on the uses that humans make of them. So, in conclusion, speciesism works by drawing attention away from animals who are most exploited and who suffer the most because of human actions, and towards animals who are already relatively safe from harm. To find out more about speciesism, head over to OpenLearn on www.open.edu/openlearn/veganism.
Okay, so I found it quite emotional hearing that voice again, I have to say. So once the learners have encountered that video, okay, once more for luck. Okay, before I talk about where they go on to next, I just wanted to briefly mention the research that underpins that video. So the kind of conceptual map that you saw there, this was developed in this book, well, before this book even, but refined, I suppose, in this book that I wrote with my partner and colleague, Kate Stewart. 10 years ago now. That's incredible. We really should do another one by now, I think. Our children and other animals, the cultural construction of human-animal relations in childhood. So this very much relates to Natasha's first talk as well, because what we're especially interested in there is how these ideas, how these categorizations get formed in childhood, and how children are brought up to accept them as normal, not only through the formal education system, but through popular culture, through family practices, through all kinds of ways. So if that's something that interests you, then please do check out the book. I'll be happy to talk about it later if anyone wants to. So after learning a bit about speciesism, as I've said, the interactive then takes learners to, then takes learners to veganism as the social solution to speciesism. So we set up the problem, now here's the solution. So again, the reason that we decided to do this was to try and avoid this issue of people encountering veganism and going, oh no, this is going to be preachy, it's going to be trying to make me feel guilty, or that I've done something wrong, and so on and so forth. So we really tried to avoid that. I'm not going to play this video because I need a reason for you to actually go and click on the link and check it out for yourselves. But also, I haven't got enough time, so I'm not going to play the veganism video right now. After seeing that video, there are further text-based resources where learners can explore these issues in some more depth. So they have various options to click on. So here you can see that map comes back, and learners can click on each of the 4 segments to read a bit more, learn a bit more about how these categorizations work in society. So this was all produced about a year ago now, I think. But it was always my intention to do more than this and not just leave it there with the interactive, because the one thing that's kind of missing are these encounters with real individual animals, putting an individual face to these fairly abstract ideas that are explored in the interactive. So to address that, I was fantastically fortunate to make a film with Hillside Animal Sanctuary, who I'm sure loads of you know of. They let us do some filming down there a few months ago. And again, I'll try and let this speak for itself rather than talk too much about it. Hello and welcome to Hillside Animal Sanctuary in Norfolk. My name is Matthew Cole and I'm a lecturer in criminology at the Open University. And we're here today to find out some more about Hillside Sanctuary and the work that they do with the animals they look after here. What's great about somewhere like Hillside is that it gives us a chance to spend some time with other animals, including those ones who tend to be exploited for food and so on. We can get to know them as individuals. We can get to meet them as unique personalities, and we'll get to know a little bit more about what they like and what they don't like. Let's go and meet some of the animals here at Hillside and some of the people who work with them.
I'm Ellie. I've worked at Hillside for around 15 years. I work on the small animal section, which is mostly rabbits, guinea pigs, chickens, goats, sheep, but we've got some bigger ones as well. We've got some pigs, llamas, alpacas, donkeys. And so we start off in the morning just making sure everyone's all right, giving them their feed and their water, cleaning them out. If it's a bit of a wet, cold day, give them extra bedding, that kind of thing. If it's a lovely sunny day, they go out into the paddocks and have a nice time.
My name's Chloe and I've been working here at Hillside for 4 years. I sort out a lot of the medications and deal with getting any animal care for any chronic illnesses or anything that arises at their time staying here. Come rain or shine, storms, snow, anything you have it, we have to be out there because they do need your care 24/7. There is no days off, no such thing as a bank holiday here. But like I say, it's all for the better cause, so you don't mind so much.
You see them come in all scared and skinny, and then you build up a relationship with them, they trust you, and you see them blossom and their characters come out. It's so heartwarming, it really is.
There is a pony here called Henry, who myself do have a special bond with. He is a little terror sometimes, but he came in from the pound, he was very scared, very nervous, very untrusting of people, and luckily over time I have been able to gain his trust, and he enables me to catch him, worm him, do his feet, which not everybody can do, so it's really lovely that we have that little relationship, that he trusts me enough to allow to care for him in the way that he needs.
One of my special animals is little Horus the goose. He's an Egyptian goose that was found all on his own in a field as a baby, and since he's been out there he has absolutely blossomed. It's just wonderful to see that not only do we look after domestic animals, but we'll take in the occasional wildlife case, and they are so special. They really are. I'm a sucker for the underdog, definitely. Most people absolutely love coming here. One of the first things they usually say is they didn't realise how big it was and how many animals we have.
A lot of the visitors that come here to Hillside feel that it's very eye-opening. Obviously, they learn more about their stories and how things ended up here. It just makes them think a little bit more. It makes them think about what they might go home and do, the differences they might make, things like your diet, they might make better choices with cutting certain things out or going to alternatives for certain things, just to help the animals out, really.
So what can that tell us about the way society is organised? What can we learn about this from a social, structural point of view, or from a social science point of view? Well, I think it actually teaches us quite a lot, because if we have that sense of kind of personal discomfort when we imagine these animals that we've got to know a little bit being harmed, that suggests that we might feel the same kind of way about all the animals who are exploited, who are used for food and so forth. If we want to imagine a society in which animals are not exploited in those ways, so that they can live their lives freely, enjoy their lives, live their lives to the full, then we would need to think very carefully about how we could restructure or reconstruct society. But I hope that this experience of being at Hillside today has made you think about how we can make society a kinder place, a more compassionate place for all the animals we share it with. Okay, so, oops, it's done it again. Apologies. Okay, so again, the idea there is to kind of personalise some of these potentially abstract ideas about speciesism and veganism, but also to give something hopeful, something to look forward to, which I think again came through in the first talk. So we don't want to leave people with this sense that of doom and gloom, that everything is a disaster, even though we kind of know we are living in a perpetual disaster for other animals, of course. But we need that sense of where we could get to, how things might be different. And that's what we're really hoping to achieve with that second mini documentary as well. And then just to finish off, to say at the end of the interactive, there are all these links to other sources that students can use, that anyone can use, which are free to access and read. There's more that I couldn't fit on the slide as well. And again, these are based on research that me and Kate have done in various different ways. And that's kind of it for what I was going to talk about. There's some links. There's some more resources aimed more at undergraduates, I suppose, as well, one of which is listed there, Why Are Non-Human Animals Victims of Harm? That's more of an undergraduate level course, but it's still free to access. But these resources I've been showing you, these are aimed at anybody in the public. They're not aimed at any particular academic discipline or level of learning or anything like that. They're for everybody. So I really hope that they'll be of some use. And finally, just to say, if anyone does make use of them, I'd be really happy to hear from you and give me any feedback. That would be terrific. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take questions for Natasha and Matthew now, if anybody has any, directed at either speaker.
Hi there. My question's for Natasha. Of course. My question's for Natasha. When you're trying to get schools to buy into some of this educational stuff, this might be a wonky question, do you frame it as super curricular or extracurricular? Because I know one of the things we've faced in other contexts is schools love to do stuff, but if it doesn't add to the curriculum value, then why would they?
Yeah, that's a really relevant question at the moment, because anyone who knows any teachers or any young people in schools knows now more than ever schools are very busy places, and I think we do very much frame it as something that is within the curriculum, and we're kind of providing support to teachers to teach the curriculum. I'm not going to pretend that the national curriculum is good for animals. There's a lot of bad stuff in there, but there are parts of it that are good for animals. There's lots of subjects like RE where they are taught about animal rights, and I think a lot of most of the teachers that invite us in, they're not vegan, they're not even vegetarian, they're not even that maybe interested in animal welfare themselves. They just see it as a good subject that stimulates debate among students and critical thinking. So I think in a lot of the time they welcome having kind of experts like vegans coming in to talk about these issues. One area where it's really in our favour actually is the food and nutrition curriculum. It's in the last 2 sets of exams, they've had to design plant-based menus and things like this. So it's we very much look for those opportunities to work with the schools, with the teachers, and provide help to them.
Hi, sorry, my question's for Natasha as well. So have any of your volunteers that have gone into school had vegan kids there already? Because I know you're going to one of your volunteers goes to my kids' school. And they're both vegan and they're both quite vocal about it with their mates, so that's great. But how have they responded? Have there been vegan kids that have attended the sessions and been positive about it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because it's we tend now not to kind of encourage speakers to directly ask, you know, the kind of, our first thought was like, yeah, go in and say, you know, are there any vegans here, to kind of show, oh, there's more and more vegans around the world, you know, it's a normal thing. But actually, you know, we're social primates, and, you know, young people, that their social network is their entire world. So I think it being different when you're that age, it's incredibly difficult. So actually we found that, like, asking if there's any vegans in the classroom, it tends to, even if there are vegans there, you just sort of see someone looking a bit uncomfortable, and maybe everyone like turning to look at them, unfortunately, because we're still in that situation where they are in the minority. But yeah, I mean, I've had vegans come up to me after the talk and just sort of say thank you, just, you know, because getting that message across, because, you know, it's difficult to advocate for animals, especially when you're very young. So having an adult do that and kind of reinforce what they're trying to explain to their peers is really, yeah, I think that they love they love it most of the time. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, yeah, this is about child education. I wondered whether, part of your agenda, you considered incorporating the idea of vegan pet food. It's an opportunity, and there's a lot of leading research now showing there's tremendous benefits, but there's a significant lack of awareness of that. And it's a great opportunity to incorporate that into that agenda.
Yeah, definitely, it is an area we could look into. It's one that we often get asked about, actually, because it's, you know, we've probably all had that question. It's almost like a gotcha question. Whatever answer you give, you're an animal abuser. You're either abusing your dog or the animals that you feed to your dog. So it's one that we tend not to go into with young people, because it is seen, you know, even for people who are still consuming animals themselves, it's such an alien concept to then, you know, as I'm sure you're aware, to then feed your companion animals a vegan diet. And we find it's more kind of divisive to kind of try and go down that. You know, we're kind of looking at it, we're there for usually like 1 hour, and it's all kind of opportunity cost. Like whatever thing you talk about, there's an infinite list of things you're not talking about. So we kind of really have to use that time effectively. But if it comes up, yeah, obviously the research does show that it's, you know, that cats and dogs can be healthy on a vegan diet. So we say that from a kind of scientific perspective. Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Matthew, in your sort of curriculum?
What in terms of what? Sorry.
Like including a topic on, you know, pet food, or raising awareness about that particular part of veganism.
Yeah, I mean, to get into that level of almost fine detail would be a bit difficult, because the way I've been able to embed these topics into my teaching is part of much wider modules, so wider criminology modules. So just getting onto the sort of high level of explaining the animal industrial complex, something like that, is kind of all I've got time for, because I've got like 1 week out of a 30-week module, if you know what I mean. So it's something that potentially I could cover in the future. But at the moment, it's not something I can get in. And because the way the OU works, we sort of create these modules and they last for 9 years. So we don't get to sort of rewrite our lectures every semester, if you know what I mean. But it's certainly something to bear in mind for sure, yeah.
Hi, I'm glad I follow this because I wanted to speak about dog food as well. I am an annual age speaker. I do go into schools. I also have a strong background with dogs. I did support Omni Pet Food to get to market. So I do, when I go into schools, I don't talk about it directly, but I'll always have a display. And there's always an empty bag of dog food, as well as the Alpro soy milk and whatever else there is on the display. So I do take the opportunity if it arises. It's not, I understand I'm not supposed to do it, but I subliminally get it in somehow. And the other thing I wanted to say to both of you really is that I'm campaign manager for speciesism.wtf. And I do look at you both as collaborators. schools it might be a bit more difficult, but one of my missions is to get speciesism into universities and get the university students performing the installations that we create. We make artwork, we perform installations, so I do see us going into drama departments, and I believe it could be in schools as well, where we put humans in the position of the animals, and it's just such a brilliant way of people understanding if you can't do this to humans, how can you do it to cows, or how can you do it to everything else? So I would love to, even if it was just providing visuals or something, I want to collaborate with anyone that's involved in education. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds terrific. Yeah, we should talk and email and so forth. One of the kind of good sides about what we do at the OU, even though I can't do a vegan studies module for a semester, because it's embedded within these wider modules that look at all kind of topics, it means that all students get to encounter this kind of material. So they're doing level 3 criminology or whatever, and that will include anti-speciesist material, basically, critiquing the exploitation of non-human animals. So I think there's a lot of potential to do more of that. And one of the reasons for me creating these open learn resources is to show that there is an interest out there. So, please click on it, everyone, because, clicks count in terms of me being able to persuade people at the OU, let me do more of this, certainly with collaborators such as yourself. So, yeah, let's talk about that. Terrific.
Yep. I don't have much to add, but yeah, definitely happy to collaborate. Yeah, the more subjects that we can get into, the better. Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you. I just have an announcement from the organisers, just to add to the end of this session before we thank Natasha and Matthew. There's a bit of a glitch on the app, apparently, and a closed door campaign announcement by Dan Kidby from Animal Rising hasn't been visible. So that session is at 4:20 in the International Suite later on today, if everyone wants to make a note of that. But for now, great learnings there for all of us. So please just give thanks. Oh, yeah? There's one, Min. No. Is it a quick one?
Yes, well. I basically want to very quickly ask if when you go to sort of schools and stuff, does what the parents do factor into how you sort of interact with them? For example, if you have a community where a lot of the students have parents who are farmers or butchers or what have you, do you take a different approach when you go to those schools? Because I know from my experience, I've got nieces and nephews, and my brother-in-law is a hunter and that kind of thing, and I struggle to tell them about my veganism. So how do you tackle that when you enter sort of school environments?
Yeah, so a good question. So when we kind of look at the map of the UK and where we give talks, it's, you can just see it's glaringly obvious that the schools almost self-select, really. We do very few talks in really rural areas. Most of them tend to be in more urban environments. But we do obviously do some talks, and we kind of, prepare speakers to just kind of be aware that maybe the questions that they get might be more from that kind of perspective, that they may face sort of more defensiveness from students, but the resources and the approach that we take wouldn't really differ. We'll, students from anywhere can get defensive, so we kind of train the speakers to just sort of minimise those feelings of, the guilt, shame, whatever, that would create the defensiveness. But we don't really change our approach. And we do get instances where there will be backlash from parents, as is kind of inevitable. But our kind of rate of being asked back into schools is very high, which suggests that that the parents don't complain that often, or when they do, the schools deal with it in the way that they should, really. Parents do complain a lot. Generally, the parent WhatsApp group is a thing nowadays. So I think, schools are aware that, oftentimes parents are complaining about something that wasn't even said in the session. It's kind of a lot of the time what hearsay. But it's very, very rare, really, that we hear about that. It's, most people are most of the teachers, the schools are supportive, and the parents as well. But excellent question though.